Guinness World Records. Guinness World Records, known from its inception in 1955 until 2000 as the Guinness Book of World Records, and in previous United States editions as the Guinness Book of World Records, is a reference book published annually, listing world records both of human achievements and the extremes of the natural world. The brainchild of Sir Hugh Beaver, the book was co-founded by twin brothers Norris and Ross McWhirter in Fleet Street, London, in August 1954. The book itself holds a world record as the best-selling copyrighted book of all time. As of the 2019 edition, it is now in its 64th year of publication, published in 100 countries and 23 languages, and maintains over 53,000 world records in its database. The international franchise has extended beyond print to include television series and museums. The popularity of the franchise has resulted in Guinness World Records becoming the primary international authority on cataloging and verification of a huge number of world records. The organization employs official world record adjudicators authorized to verify the authenticity of the setting and breaking of records. History. On 10 November 1951, Sir Hugh Beaver, then managing director of the Guinness Breweries, went on a shooting party in North Slob by the River Slaney in County Wexford, Ireland. After missing a shot at a golden plover, he became involved in an argument over which was the fastest game bird in Europe, the golden plover or the red grouse. It is the plover. That evening in Castlebridge House, he realized that it was impossible to confirm in reference books whether or not the golden plover was Europe's fastest game bird. Beaver knew that there must have been numerous other questions debated nightly in pubs throughout Ireland and abroad, but there was no book in the world with which to settle arguments about records. He realized then that a book supplying the answers to this sort of question might prove successful. Beaver's idea became reality when Guinness employee Christopher Chataway recommended university friends Norris and Ross McWhirter, who had been running a fact-finding agency in London. The twin brothers were commissioned to compile what became the Guinness Book of World Records in August 1954. 1,000 copies were printed and given away. After the founding of the Guinness Book of World Records office at 107 Fleet Street, London, the first 198-page edition was bound on 27 August 1955 and went to the top of the British bestseller lists by Christmas. The following year, it was launched in the US and sold 70,000 copies. Since then, Guinness World Records has gone on to become a record breaker in its own right. With sales of more than 100 million copies in 100 countries and 37 languages, Guinness World Records is the best-selling copyrighted book. Because the book became a surprise hit, many further editions were printed, eventually settling into a pattern of one revision a year, published in September or October, in time for Christmas. The McWhirters continued to compile it for many years. Both brothers had an encyclopedic memory. On the TV series Record Breakers, based upon the book, they would take questions posed by children in the audience on various world records and were able to give the correct answer. Ross McWhirter was assassinated by the Provisional Irish Republican Army in 1975. Following Ross's assassination, that feature in the show where questions about records posed by children were answered was called Norris on the Spot. Guinness Superlatives, later Guinness World Records Limited, was formed in 1954 to publish the first book. Sterling Publishing owned the rights to the Guinness book in the US for decades. The group was owned by Guinness plc and subsequently Diageo until 2001, when it was purchased by Gullane Entertainment for $65 million. Gullane was itself purchased by Hit Entertainment in 2002. In 2006, Apax Partners purchased Hit and subsequently sold Guinness World Records in early 2008 to the Jim Pattison Group, the parent company of Ripley Entertainment, which is licensed to operate Guinness World Records attractions. With offices in New York City and Tokyo, Guinness World Records' global headquarters remain in London, while its museum attractions are based at Ripley headquarters in Orlando, Florida, US. Evolution. Recent editions have focused on record feats by person competitors. Competitions range from obvious ones, such as Olympic weightlifting, to the longest egg-tossing distances, or for longest time spent playing Grand Theft Auto 4, or the number of hot dogs that can be consumed in 3 minutes. Besides records about competitions, it contains facts such as the heaviest tumor, the most poisonous fungus, the longest-running soap opera, and the most valuable life insurance policy, among others. Many records also relate to the youngest people to have achieved something, such as the youngest person to visit all nations of the world. It is Maurizio Giuliano. Each edition contains a selection of the records from the Guinness World Records database, as well as select new records, with the criteria for inclusion changing from year to year. The retirement of Norris McWhirter from his consulting role in 1995 and the subsequent decision by Diageo plc to sell the Guinness Book of World Records brand have shifted the focus of the books from text-oriented to illustrated reference. A selection of records are curated for the book from the full archive, but all existing Guinness World Records titles can be accessed by creating a login on the company's website. Applications made by individuals for existing record categories are free of charge. There is an administration fee of $5 to propose a new record title. A number of spin-off books and television series have also been produced. Guinness World Records bestowed the record of person with the most records on Ashrita Furman of Queens, New York in April 2009. At that time, he held 100 records and currently holds over 220. In 2005, Guinness designated 9 November as International Guinness World Records Day to encourage breaking of world records. In 2006, an estimated 100,000 people participated in over 10 countries. Guinness reported 2,244 new records in 12 months, which is a 173% increase over the previous year. In February 2008, NBC aired the top 100 Guinness World Records of all time, and Guinness World Records made the complete list available on their website. Defining records. For many records, Guinness World Records is the effective authority on the exact requirements for them and with whom records reside, the company providing adjudicators to events to determine the veracity of record attempts. The list of records which the Guinness World Records covers is not fixed. Records may be added and also removed for various reasons. The public are invited to submit applications for records, which can either be the bettering of existing records or substantial achievements which could constitute a new record. The company also provides corporate services for companies to harness the power of record breaking to deliver tangible success for their businesses. Ethical and safety issues. Guinness World Records states several types of records it will not accept for ethical reasons, such as those related to killing or harming of animals. Several world records that were once included in the book have been removed for ethical reasons, including concerns for the well-being of potential record breakers. For example, following publication of the heaviest fish record, many fish owners overfed their pets beyond the bounds of what was healthy, and therefore such entries were removed. Citation needed. The Guinness Book also dropped records within their eating and drinking records section of human achievements in 1991 over concerns that potential competitors could harm themselves and expose the publisher to potential litigation. These changes included the removal of all spirit, wine, and beer drinking records, along with other unusual records for consuming such unlikely things as bicycles and trees. Other records, such as sword swallowing and rally driving on public roads, were closed from further entry as the current holders had performed beyond what are considered safe human tolerance levels. There have been instances of closed categories being reopened. For example, the sword swallowing category was listed as closed in the 1990 Guinness Book of World Records, but has since been reopened, with Johnny Strange breaking a sword swallowing record on Guinness World Records Live. Similarly, the speed beer drinking records, which were dropped from the book in 1991, reappeared 17 years later in the 2008 edition, but were moved from the Human Achievements section of the older book to the Modern Society section of the newer edition. As of 2011, it is required in the guidelines of all large food-type records that the item be fully edible and distributed to the public for consumption to prevent food wastage. Chain letters are also not allowed. Guinness World Records does not accept any records relating to chain letters sent by post or email. Citation needed. At the request of the U.S. Mint in 1984, the book stopped accepting claims of large hoardings of pennies or other currency. Difficulty in defining records. For some potential categories, Guinness World Records has declined to list some records that are too difficult or impossible to determine. For example, its website states, "We do not accept any claims for beauty as it is not objectively measurable." An example of this was the record for the world's fastest violinist, which was suspended as the Guinness World Records released a statement about this on one of the records on their YouTube channel, due to pressure from YouTube personalities Brett Yang and Eddie Chen, who are the heads of the channel Two Set Violin. Guinness World Records stated they could not determine if the violinist in question was playing the notes correctly, or other attributes, such as clearness or articulation. Citation needed. On 10 December 2010, Guinness World Records stopped its new dreadlock category after investigation of its first and only female title holder, Asha Mandela, determining it was impossible to judge this record accurately. Change in business model. Traditionally, the company made a large amount of its revenue via book sales to interested readers, especially children. The rise of the internet began to cut into book sales in the 2000s and forward, part of a general decline in the book industry. According to a 2017 story by Planet Money of NPR, Guinness began to realize that a lucrative new revenue source to replace falling book sales was the would-be record holders themselves. While any person can theoretically send in a record to be verified for free, the process is slow and manual for this. Would-be record holders that paid fees ranging from US $12,000 to US $500,000 would be given advisors, adjudicators, help in finding good records to break, as well as suggestions for how to do it, prompt service, and so on. In particular, corporations and celebrities seeking a publicity stunt to launch a new product or draw attention to themselves began to hire Guinness World Records, paying them for finding a record to break or to create a new category just for them. Guinness World Records was criticized by television talk show host John Oliver on the program Last Week Tonight with John Oliver in August 2019. While Oliver lightly mocked the corporate publicity side of Guinness's revenue model, such as General Mills, Inc. being awarded a record for the construction of the world's longest line of tacos, he pointed more serious criticism at Guinness for taking money from authoritarian governments for pointless vanity projects. In particular, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedow, the autocratic president of Turkmenistan, paid Guinness for a number of world records earned by the government of Turkmenistan, and has bragged about the records set by Turkmenistan. Oliver mocked the resulting records, such as the largest cycling awareness lesson and the highest density of white marble-clad buildings. Oliver asked for Guinness to work with Last Week Tonight to adjudicate a record for largest marble cake, featuring an embarrassing picture of Berdimuhamedow. But according to Oliver, the offer did not work out after Guinness insisted on a non-disparagement clause. Guinness World Records called the accusations false and stated they declined Oliver's offer to participate because it was merely an opportunity to mock one of our record holders. As of 2019, the Guinness World Record for largest marble cake remains with Betty Crocker Middle East, set in Saudi Arabia. Museums. In 1976, a Guinness Book of World Records museum opened in the Empire State Building. Speed shooter Bob Munden then went on tour promoting the Guinness Book of World Records by performing his record fast draws with a standard-weight single-action revolver from a Western movie-type holster. His fastest time for a draw was 0.02 seconds. Among exhibits were life-size statues of the world's tallest man, Robert Wadlow, and world's largest earthworm, an X-ray photo of a sword swallower, repeated lightning strike victim, Roy Sullivan's hat, complete with lightning holes, and a pair of gem-studded golf shoes on sale for $6,500. The museum closed in 1995. In more recent years, the Guinness Company has permitted the franchising of small museums with displays based on the book, all currently, as of 2010, located in towns popular with tourists: Tokyo, Copenhagen, San Antonio. There were once Guinness World Records museums and exhibitions at the London Trocadero, Bangalore, San Francisco, Myrtle Beach, Orlando, Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Las Vegas, Nevada. The Orlando Museum, which closed in 2002, was branded the Guinness Records Experience. The Hollywood, Niagara Falls, Copenhagen, and Gatlinburg, Tennessee museums also previously featured this branding. Gamers Edition. In 2008, Guinness World Records released its Gamers Edition, a branch that keeps records for popular video game high scores, code, and feats in association with twin galaxies. The Gamers Edition contains 258 pages, over 1,236 video game-related world records, and 4 interviews, including one with Twin Galaxies founder Walter Day. The most recent edition is the Guinness World Records Gamer Edition 2020, which was released on September 5, 2019. British Pop Music Volume. The Guinness Book of British Hit Singles and Albums was published from 2003 to 2006, based on 2 earlier, separate hit publications, British Hit Singles and British Hit Albums, which began in 1977. It effectively replaced, in singles part, by the Virgin Book of British Hit Singles from 2007 onward. Other media. Video games. A video game, Guinness Book of World Records, the video game, was developed by TT Fusion and released for Nintendo DS, Wii, and iOS in November 2008. Film. In 2012, Warner Bros. Announced the development of a live-action film version of Guinness World Records with Daniel Chun as scriptwriter. The film version will apparently use the heroic achievements of record holders as the basis for a narrative that should have global appeal.